A young boy named Daryl is suddenly taken into the forest one afternoon. He has no idea what is happening or why he is there. At the same time, military air forces are actively searching for him. The man driving the car, Dr. Mulligan, does everything he can to hide Daryl from the soldiers. Once it seems safe enough, he lets Daryl out in the forest and urges him to run and stay away from the military. Moments later, Dr. Mulligan sacrifices himself by driving off a cliff to erase all traces and protect the boy. So, who is this boy? This is Daryl. Not long after, Daryl is discovered by a married couple who work as wood collectors. They are confused to find a young boy alone in the forest with no memory of his family. Since Daryl cannot remember anything except his own name, they take him to a child shelter for help. There, doctors examine him and confirm that he is physically fine and completely unharmed. However, they also realize that he is suffering from amnesia. For the time being, Daryl stays at the shelter. While there, he meets a volunteer named Howie Fox, who promises to help find a family willing to take care of him. Not long after meeting Daryl, Howie visits his close friend and neighbor, Andy Richardson. Andy has always wanted to adopt a child and has even registered as a foster parent. Seeing this as the perfect opportunity, Howie suggests that Andy take Daryl in. Later that afternoon, after returning home from school, Andy watches his wife as she teaches piano lessons. He knows that both of them have long dreamed of having a child. Once her student leaves, Andy shares the news with his wife, Joyce. Howie, who is also there, explains Daryl's condition. He is 9 years old, physically healthy, but suffers from memory loss. For Joyce, that does not matter at all. She is overjoyed and promises to care for Daryl with all her heart, as she has waited a long time for this moment. Even so, Andy gently reminds her that Daryl cannot stay with them forever. They can only take care of him until his real parents are found. No matter what, one day they will have to say goodbye. The next morning, Howie's youngest son, Turtle, comes by to visit. He heard that the Richardson family had taken in a boy his age, so he wants to meet him. Before long, Turtle invites Daryl to play at Blue Lake. Along the way, Turtle talks about his older sister, Sherry, whom he jokingly calls Hooky because she often changes boyfriends. The nickname confuses Daryl, who does not quite understand jokes yet. Later, Turtle brings Daryl to his house to play video games. Turtle starts with a racing game but ends up losing and getting teased by his sister. When Daryl takes a turn, he surprisingly scores incredibly high, showing a natural talent that leaves everyone impressed.
79,950.
The next day, Joyce drives Daryl and Turtle to school. Since it is Daryl's first day, she wants to stay and watch over him, just like any mother would on a child's first day. But Daryl gently refuses, not wanting to trouble her. Once inside the classroom, his intelligence quickly stands out. In no time, he corrects his classmates' math work, even making his strict teacher suspicious. Still, Daryl calmly explains his reasoning, proving that he truly is exceptionally smart.
Changing the answers on somebody else's paper?
Although, in fact, there is an error in the 8th decimal place.
That afternoon, Andy teaches Daryl how to play baseball together with Turtle. Andy coaches the Mohawk team, and Turtle is one of its players. At first, Andy has no expectations at all for Daryl, but after giving him a simple explanation on how to swing the bat, Daryl manages to hit the ball perfectly on his very first try. He does not look like a beginner at all. From that moment, Andy realizes that Daryl has a natural talent that could become a secret weapon for the Mohawk team. After practice, Andy takes Daryl out for a walk. He plans to withdraw some cash from an ATM nearby. Unfortunately, the machine is not working, so Andy decides to leave. He finds it strange since his balance should still be around $1,500. Noticing this, Daryl steps in and quietly helps. He fixes the system and successfully withdraws $100, just as Andy wanted. After that, Andy walks away. However, Daryl secretly returns to the machine and presses a few random buttons, causing Andy's balance to multiply into $1.4 million. The day of the big game finally arrives. The Mohawk team is set to face the Warriors. Before the match begins, Turtle goes back to the Richardson house to get some water. Without meaning to, he overhears Joyce talking about Daryl. She feels that Daryl is too capable and independent, and it makes her feel like an unnecessary mother. Because Daryl truly is a genius, just as Andy had predicted, his presence on the team becomes a huge surprise. He scores perfectly, and everyone feels proud of him. Everyone except Joyce, who becomes even more saddened. This leaves Daryl confused, thinking he must have done something wrong to disappoint her. Soon after, Turtle comes to comfort his friend. Daryl shares what is bothering him, and Turtle offers some honest advice. He explains that Joyce might feel useless because Daryl can do everything so well on his own. Even though she should be happy, as a parent, she also wants to grow and struggle alongside her child. Making mistakes, even upsetting parents, is a normal part of growing up. Not long after hearing this, Daryl intentionally plays badly. He lets the ball slip away and wastes his chances on purpose. This disappoints the entire team, especially Andy. The boy who was once polite and well-behaved suddenly acts out. He even blurts out rude words in front of Andy, shocking everyone around him. But someone quickly runs after him, and that person is Joyce. She believes Daryl is simply upset because he did not perform as well as before. She gently reminds him to watch his behavior so he does not hurt others. Just like Turtle said, moments like this make Joyce feel useful again.
But it's really okay?
All right to screw up every once in a while. I mean, gosh, everybody does.
I'd like to apologize for that.
In the end, the game is finished by Turtle, who leads the team to a perfect score. The next afternoon, Joyce teaches Daryl how to play the piano. She quickly realizes just how gifted he is. After hearing the explanation only once, Daryl is already able to play a beautiful melody. It fills Joyce with happiness to see how naturally talented he is. Sadly, that joyful moment does not last long. Later that day, Andy receives a call from the child shelter. Daryl's biological parents have come forward looking for their missing son. They even bring an old photo of Daryl as proof, leaving no room for doubt. The sadness does not belong to Andy and Joyce alone. Daryl also feels heavy inside, knowing he may soon have to leave the people who cared for him. He still cannot remember his past, and he does not know who his real parents truly are. Deep down, he fears they may not be as kind or loving as Andy and Joyce. Even so, there's nothing they can do. His real parents have the right to take him back. All Andy can do is comfort Daryl and remind him that he will never be forgotten.
I'm sure you already know how much Joyce and I are going to miss you. Your parents love you, and they want you back.
The next day, two people arrive claiming to be Daryl's parents. They come to take him home. Daryl prepares himself and hugs Turtle goodbye, wanting to say farewell before leaving. Turtle is just as heartbroken. Even though they have only known each other for a short time, they shared many meaningful moments together. To Turtle, Daryl is a true friend, and saying goodbye is painful. At the same time, Daryl struggles to accept his fate. He knows the Richardson family is not his real family, yet he also feels no connection to the couple who claim to be his parents. Soon after, they arrive at an airbase. To Daryl's surprise, they are boarding a private jet. While waiting for takeoff, boredom sets in. He asks for permission to enter the cockpit and learn how the plane works. The pilot explains everything calmly, and surprisingly, Daryl understands it all with ease, even though he is only 9 years old. Once the plane is ready to depart, he returns to his seat. The couple, named Stewart and Elaine, warmly welcome Daryl and offer him food. Still, something does not feel right to him. He finally gathers the courage to ask if they truly are his real parents. That is when the truth is revealed. Daryl is not human. He is a creation of a secret American military experiment, an artificial intelligence designed to look and act like a child. Some time ago, Dr. Mulligan had taken him away, which led to his disappearance. Now that Daryl has been found, Stewart, who is also a doctor, begins examining him again. The results are astonishing. Daryl shows remarkable development as a robotic being. He was never meant to have emotions, yet after being raised by the Richardson family and treated like a normal child, he has learned to feel. Against all expectations, Daryl has grown in ways no one ever imagined, becoming something far closer to a human than a machine. Eventually, Elaine, who turns out to be a doctor as well, decides to run a series of biochemical tests on Daryl. She wants to understand what kinds of tastes and preferences he has already developed. However, something unexpected happens. The computer monitoring Daryl suddenly malfunctions because he begins to feel fear, an emotion that should not exist in a robot. Realizing this, Dr. Stewart immediately stops the test. Afterwards, Stewart reports the test results to the general. He explains that Daryl's physical condition is excellent and that his brain development is far beyond expectations. However, this kind of growth is not what the military wants. The project was designed to create children with superior physical abilities, not emotional depth. Because of this, the general decides to shut the project down and orders the destruction of all units like Daryl. Later, Dr. Stewart speaks privately with Daryl. Even though Daryl is a robot, Stewart has grown attached to him, caring for him like a real child. Daryl is intelligent, gentle, and well-mannered, which makes the situation even harder. At that moment, Daryl expresses his wish to see the Richardson family and Turtle again, because they mean so much to him. The next day, Stewart fulfills that request. Andy, Joyce, and Turtle arrive at the heavily guarded research facility. From the tight security alone, they realize that Daryl is far from an ordinary child. Still, Dr. Stewart welcomes them warmly. At first, they believe they will finally be reunited with Daryl. Instead, Stewart reveals the truth about who Daryl really is. This finally answers Joyce's long-held curiosity about why Daryl is so extraordinary. Turtle is also shocked to learn that his kind and loyal friend is actually a robot. To him, Daryl has always been just Daryl, a real boy and a true friend. When Daryl sees Turtle, he is both surprised and overjoyed. Soon after, his foster parents arrive as well, and his happiness becomes complete. The reunion is brief, though. The Richardson family and Turtle must leave soon after. Before they go, Dr. Stewart quietly asks Andy and Joyce for help. He wants to save Daryl from what is about to happen. If he fails to contact them within 5 days, they must expose the military's secret to the public. However, the generals act faster than expected. That very night, they gather to witness Daryl being shut down. Dr. Stewart and Dr. Elaine are forced to carry out the procedure under orders. Once it is over, Dr. Stewart leaves the facility, heartbroken by the decision that was made. He goes through several security checks to ensure he is clear. With great care and quiet determination, he manages to escape, secretly taking Daryl with him. Meanwhile, the general who remains inside the facility finally discovers proof that Daryl is still alive. Without hesitation, he orders his troops to hunt down Dr. Stewart, convinced that Daryl escaped with him. It does not take long before the soldiers catch up. With the roads packed and no clear escape, Daryl offers to drive. At first, Dr. Stewart refuses, but with no other choice left, they switch places. Daryl takes control of the car and speeds away, skillfully evading the pursuing soldiers.
Oh my God. Oh, wait a minute.
By the next morning, Daryl and Dr. Stewart reach a remote area in hopes of erasing their trail. As they move through the forest, they realize the area is guarded by police. Daryl attempts to deceive them, and at first, the plan works.
Well,
Unfortunately, they soon run into another patrol that immediately gives chase. During the escape, Dr. Stewart is shot, forcing Daryl to continue the journey on his own.
I've made you a fugitive. You are a real person.
Not long after, Daryl arrives at an airbase. He sneaks through the area to avoid the military and eventually finds a jet. Without hesitation, he takes off on his own, determined to return to the Richardson family. When the general sees the aircraft in the air, he orders his men to track it and prepares to destroy it if Daryl does not return. At the same time, Daryl cuts off the connection between the plane and the military base. He then contacts Turtle and tells him to wait at Blue Lake. Turtle is overjoyed when he hears from Daryl. He and his sister rush to Blue Lake, hoping to see him again. Daryl knows the plane will soon be destroyed, so as the lake comes into view, he jumps out and deploys his parachute. Sadly, the landing goes wrong, and he falls into the water, sinking beneath the surface. Thankfully, Turtle manages to find him. He and his sister work together, with Turtle pulling Daryl toward the shore while Sherry goes to get help. Despite their efforts, Daryl does not survive. The loss leaves both the Richardson family and Turtle's family completely heartbroken. Meanwhile, Dr. Elaine secretly goes to the hospital to bring Daryl back. She knows he has people who truly love him and refuse to let him go. Back at home, Turtle still believes his friend will survive. To him, Daryl is a robot, and robots cannot die. That belief soon proves to be true. Not long after, Daryl returns and reunites with everyone who cares about him. At last, he is able to live happily, having finally found his true family. So the moral of the story is that love can grow even where it was never meant to exist. And sometimes the deepest pain comes from loving someone you were never meant to keep.